Today's episode tackles the subject of addiction. If you're suffering from addiction, there are solutions available. We've compiled resources for you on our website, rubinoshoes.com/hope. This episode is presented by Rubino Shoes and Demex Air.
And I arrived at home in Beaconsfield in the middle of the night. It'd been a long day. It was probably 2 a.m. And my poor mother meets me at the door. And she kisses me on the forehead. And she says, "You're home. I'm going to tell you that I can feel this. That you want to get sober, you're going to feel your emotions." She kisses me on my forehead and she hugs me. And she just says, "I'm so happy you're home." I said, "Ma, it's okay. Minimalize, deflect." And I went to bed upstairs and we had an upstairs den. And I woke up the next day, and it was on.
Well, welcome everyone. First episode ever, Grain of Hope, which is derived from Grain d'Espoir. First episode ever in English. I'm so stoked and excited. Maripier.
Hi.
First time we actually have a conversation in English. This is
nuts.
This is literally
and
nuts.
I haven't spoken English in 3 years, so please, people, bear with me. I'm sorry.
We will get better, we promise.
Yes.
Jean-Claude is always here. He's our specialist.
Counselor.
Hi.
Our boss.
Therapist. Maybe Bob will find the correct term.
Hold on, everyone. Hey, I got to introduce the guest properly.
Man.
So we are very lucky to have the founder of Hired Sobriety. He's known as
The
Sober
Sober
Coach on Instagram. He was featured on a Vice documentary. He was featured on National Post and many more. Mostly known for Sober Coach. He's the Sober Coach of stars and celebrities, guys. Bob, what's up?
Well, first of all, it's good to be here. It's kind of interesting. Maripier's bad English and oh shit, when I met with Jean-Marc, "How's your French?" Je connais pas mon recouvrement en français. He knew really quickly, okay, it's not going to work in French. So really. And,
but the fun fact about us is that I'm from Rivière-du-Loup, which is a small town 2 hours outside of Quebec City. And his dad is from Rivière-du-Loup.
Yep.
Yeah, because your last name is Maripier.
Maripier.
Yeah.
And my dad is, I think whenever I went there, I was like, "Is it ever going to be sunny in Rivière-du-Loup?" I used to give him a hard time.
Is this why you are in Miami? Is it more?
No, I think we'll get into that. The cornerstone of my sobriety is my tan. I've been telling that for people since I got in here. I was like the color of that lamp when I got sober.
Okay.
That was my color, luminescent,
So, Bob, your approach is very direct and very hands-on with sober coaching. So your approach to recovery, you've been sober for many years.
19 years.
19 years. Wow. I'd love to know and ask you the question. I think you were asked the same question in a different documentary. What's your addictions resume?
God, I'm a cocaine addict. Is probably my first drug. It became pretty evident to me that everything but pot was on the table for me. Hated marijuana. Probably been sober of marijuana for more than 40 years. I'm 58 years old, so I would say I was probably 17 the last time I smoked pot. So everything else was give me more, please. And, it was...
Alcohol as well?
Alcohol is my drive.
Yeah.
I thought when I was in rehab, my skin was jaundiced. And I was like telling the people, "Hey, I feel sorry for you people, but I came here just for drugs. I'm still going to drink." And there was a young girl from... she's 18 years old, and she was a Gaspé. And she said to me, "Hey, Bob, we're not having lunch on the SS Vodka here on the fucking Lido deck. You're in rehab, and you're yellow." And I was like, "How dare she tell me that?" And she says to me, she said, "Are you really think you're going to come here just, yeah, I'm going to get clean, man. I don't have a problem with liquor. It's never been an issue." And then it sort of tore it down. I was like, people would always tell me, "How is that man still standing?" Well, the amount of cocaine you can put in you, anyone can be standing for a long time.
Very balanced.
Yeah, exactly. I was hollow. But the reality of it was the alcohol was clearly, and I never had a good relationship with it. What I know today and what I knew when I came in are very different. I came into recovery thinking I'll go to rehab, I'll get these people off my back, and then, I'll go back to the races. What the hell? I'll be fine. I'm going to be okay.
You just mentioned what kind of brought you to rehab, but I mean, did you have an idea that something was already wrong? And how old were you? What was happening in your life?
So
at
you
that
went to
time?
rehab,
Yeah.
a rehab center?
Only
and you,
once.
And you were
I tell you what happens is, I'll tell you the drug. I'm doing lots of drugs. I am I have a friend that works in production, and he becomes a big Canadian actor, and he says, I don't want to act, I'm just going to produce. And he produces some big movies, and he's a writer, and he writes this. When your first movie, you go to Hollywood, has Brad Pitt and Julia Roberts in it, he does the Mexican. And he's my buddy, so we were along for the ride. And I'm working at Paramount on lot, and fuck, man, you want to see a place where you can get dope. Oh my God. It was unbelievable. And I'm working there. My feet aren't touching the ground. I'm not happy. I know I'm not happy. I know I've been unhappy for years. It's like, I know that there's something there. I have 15 years of family pictures at Christmas, and my eyes are so sad. You can see in my soul, you can see pain. What's wrong with this kid? And I didn't really know, well, I'll tell you what's wrong. You're drinking a suppressant all day, and when you're using cocaine all the time, when you do come down from it, even if it's for a few hours, you're going to, as they say in French, tu vas pogner des downs, pas à peu près. I would end up in this dark place, and the rinse, wash, repeat of my addiction, which, a normal drinker does not do this to himself day in, day out. I did this for more than 15 years. I know I could have come in when I went to rehab. I was like, man, how do these people know so much about me? And the counselor said, you're a garden variety addict. Your mother told you you were special your whole life. She fucking lied. I was like, oh, really? And he said, yeah. He said, because they really do sort of make it seem, I've never met an addict that when they come into the rooms, you have low self-esteem, yet you're self-centered. What a perfect thing to work with. So anything that sounds like truth from people that really cared about me, my family, my loved ones, anyone that told me, hey, Bob, you might have a fucking problem. Fuck you, I work hard, I play hard. Yeah, the denial in that, it was trying to escape something. And I'm not a decent human being. I know I'm not. I hope you guys don't find out, because I'm trying to be someone I'm clearly not. I thought, when you break down your image, I was trying to be this guy. I don't know, he was an amalgamated version of, movies I had seen and cool things I thought were cool. They didn't say, hi, I've got low self-esteem and I'm self-centered. They said, I'm going to try and pretend to be this guy. It's very tiring, and it wasn't genuine. And like I said, I was starting to exhaust friends. Your friend group starts to, oh yeah, not with him anymore, not with them. Yeah, and normal people didn't want to be around you. And then you're lying to everyone. And I was lying to everyone about where my whereabouts were at night. I thank God that they didn't have social media when I was out there, because, oh my God, we wouldn't be up in this call. The things I did would be like, no, that's a hard
and
no
there's
on
no
that.
record of
Exactly.
anything we've done all
You're
that.
lucky.
I was really sad for years. And I think that depression started very young. I'm born in 1965. So when you're born in 1965, un manque de comportement, I was told often in school, when it was really, I have ADHD, and they didn't know what it was. I'd go to summer school every year in high school, grade 7, summer school, 8, so on and so forth. What would happen when I was in a classroom with 4 people? I'd have 100% on every course I did, because I was able to focus. The rest of the time, and I use this all the time, my favorite color is shiny, all right? Anything shiny, I'm like, there it is. And you don't feel it, that's it. But it's exactly. Most people with cocaine love cocaine because it's actually,
it's part of the setup.
It's the speed, and ADHD now, we're finding out so much psychologically speaking, causes serious depression, really big highs and lows. We used to think.
Does.
Yeah, and I'm in rehab. In 2004, the world has changed radically for treatment. I remember the
30,
therapist.
No, you're 40.
I'm 58 now.
No, but when you
my
went to
39th
rehab.
birthday was in rehab.
39.
Yeah, le
Okay.
7 février 65. I like speaking English and French here, but wow, I'm so
So
worldly.
it's gonna be a very Montreal bilingual.
No, people understand. But you know what I'm saying?
international.
There was sadness in me. I defy you to look at pictures when you're in the heart of your addiction, any of you, and look at the pictures and look how sad you are, because you're
talk
fucking
so
sad.
much.
And you might pretend you're shining a fucking turd, all right? And that's all you're doing, because it's only
Well,
peaks
you
and valleys.
said something that really hit
Yeah.
home when you said, there's no point in being sober if you're not being remarkable. Fuck mediocrity. I lived that way for years. So you're saying, hey, it's okay to be sober and be out there and be the
Yeah.
way you are and shine.
It was, when I first came in, first of all, you could see I had a problem from space, all right? Everyone knew I wasn't fooling anybody. So then when I came in, and I had come from California to go to treatment in Montreal at a rehab that I was there for 42 days. It was Addington House. It's got a new name now. I do not support it. I had 42 days I was in there. They told me I was there for 60. And at 42, they said, you're going to need to do a month of transition. You're going to have to get a job at Java U. And I was like, no.
That's a
And they
coffee
called
shop.
it the humility job. And I said, my brains did not fall out of my head. And I went to rehab, guys. I did not break one rule. Nothing. I was remarkably good at following rules. I was like, this is the path. I'm going to do it right.
Even though you weren't going by your own reasons, you said earlier
yeah.
to calm the family and the world
Yeah,
around
I
you.
went in
people off your
by the
back.
way, I went in by intervention. I am the baby of 6 kids. Now I know what I know from, they tried for years to get me home because they could see it and they'd hear stories about, oh, Christ, Bob, last night, whatever. I wish I could live up to half of what I hear about myself, but I was clearly there. But they kept on doing it. And I had, my enabler, who was also my mom. God, I'm super emotional talking about my mom today. I had a dream about her last night, and she was pushing me around in an Expo 67 cart. Wild. And I'm a fully grown man. Mom, we're going over here. So my mom, it'll be 5 years that she's passed. I'm the baby, and it's super emotional. She protected me, and she allowed me not to hit the ground, which, we used to think, oh, it's another codependent story. There's a new book called Prodependent, which is about addicts with addicts. Because if you have someone that you love that's an addict, a lot of people in our recovery world will say, look at you being so codependent. But if the person has cancer, you better be damn sure you'll be loving them terminally. So this guy, Robert Rice, wrote this really good book, Prodependent, and it really talks to the fact that, we're addicts, but we're also so hypersensitive, all of us, and we have very good insights to how we feel and how we don't want to feel. So I say this with my mom. She protected me. And the interventionists that they brought in said, he gave them pointers and said, your mother cannot be in that room. She cannot be in that room. She will take him out of here. And I've been using my mom as my escape hatch for years.
Because she would have saved you.
Yeah.
She
She
would have said, oh, this time's going to be different. I've only driven the car this much further up shit creek, but I'm fucked.
she was an enabler.
Yeah. I've had a drug-induced accident in California. I've been in a hospital for weeks on end. I'm detoxed. I come home, and I come home in the middle of the night. I had a work visa. They had to bring me in through Vermont. 2 of my brothers who have children are by my hospital. I'm like, how selfish am I? Like, I don't give a shit. You're not with your kids and your family. How long have you been here? I have no idea. I've lost point of time. And I arrived at home in Beaconsfield in the middle of the night. It'd been a long day. It was probably 2 a.m. And my poor mother meets me at the door. And she kisses me on the forehead. And she says, you're home. I'm going to tell you that I can feel this. Did you want to get sober? You're going to feel your emotions. She kisses me on my forehead and she hugs me. And she just says, I'm so happy you're home. I said, Ma, it's okay. Minimalize, deflect. And I went to bed upstairs, and we had an upstairs den. And I woke up the next day and it was on. Like, everyone's there except my mom. My life preserver was gone. My father's from my dad did not put his arm around me and call me son. It does not mean I did not feel his love. I did. I have a great family. My background's lovely. I'm blessed to have the family I have. But my addiction had kept me away from the people that really mattered. And I tell you this, and I mean it. I went it was on. I was battling. No fucking way. I'm not going. This, that. And I went. And my father said to me, I'll never forget, my father and my sister Tina, who wanted to say, you have a beautiful mid-century modern home. My sister Tina, who was very close to me, she said, you leave this room and you leave this family. And then my dad said, enough is enough. They said, you're going to go and shut your fucking mouth and get in the car, which is what I say, get in the fucking car. But it
Because
wasn't high
someone
drama.
said it to you.
It was high drama, though. It was like, I think if my parents were in their 70s and I'm putting them through this because I'm so self-centered. I never think of anyone else. I look at it today, the amount of love and concern to drive me into treatment, wow, like amazing. And it's like, I'm blessed, but I wasn't blessed. That day was like, it's the worst day of your life, the day it's happening. And then a few months later, you start hearing other people's stories. You're in rehab and they have it fucking 10 times
But
worse than
wait,
you ever
so
did.
this intervention really worked because
It
you
worked.
went to rehab
Yeah.
at 39 years
Yeah,
old.
at 38. My 39th birthday was a few weeks later.
And then you never
I never
fallen back. There
zero.
was no relapse.
No, but I got to tell you, at 42 days, they say you got to take the job. I'm like, not happening. They throw me out.
So
They
the
say, "You're
Java
out."
U job.
The Java U job.
Jeez.
Java U on Monkland. No. So they said, pack your shit and get out of here.
So
And
you
then
didn't finish your
No, my
therapy.
brother John likes to tell me, you still owe me a month there. Doesn't matter. But first, this is how it went down. I paid my father back for rehab. I own my recovery. I paid him back.
That's a story
yeah.
that I've heard a few
You own
people
it.
say, and
I did
I
that
really
first.
respect that.
Yeah. What's funny is when he passed, he gave me the money back and he said, you earned every dime of it. And I'm like, I tell you that, like, I'm so loving. I miss my mom and dad. And like, I'm so happy that I was 9 years sober when my dad passed. He went into his next life knowing I had straightened this shit out and he felt good about it. And then my mom, the same thing. I took really good care of my mom. Like, hey, I have a job. Then, yeah, I'm here. My mom went everywhere with me. I traveled with her everywhere. It's chronicle. You go to my Facebook, there's lots of stuff with my mom. And I was able to fix a lot of the wrongs, culminating to 5 years ago when my mom passed. I took my two sisters right away to Europe. And we went to Italy. We had one of the great vacations. Everyone's older than me, and I had a good time. And I said, next year, I'm taking the whole family. And I do. Like, I'm the crazy guy. Like, my idea of a good time is like, I'm going to buy houses and all my family's going to live next door to me. Like, sounds like hell on earth. And that's what I feel like it would be great. And now I'm about to make that happen. I'm going to buy a big central house. We'll have like a central kitchen and then we'll have these little houses for them all around the property. I can do that now. And it's like, this is my dream. I can start doing that. There were no dreams coming true before sobriety. None. And now I can have the opportunity to live the life I have wide open and be really open about being in recovery. This is a fucking disease. It's not a moral failing. We were treated like, we should be ashamed of ourselves. Dude, I was displaying symptoms of, substance abuse disorder.
Well, if
For a
someone has
long time.
cancer, you're not going to judge it. You're just
No.
going to
No.
say, what can I do to help you?
This is
And
really
Exactly.
good coffee. So maybe I should let someone else ask me
This is-
questions because
this
I
is
feel
the
like
ga-
the one way.
This
This
is
is
the
the
Gay
greatest
Spa
fall
coffee.
coffee. So thank you for.
It's delicious.
I watched the documentary on Vice.
Yes.
And your mother and your sister on it.
Yeah.
And your mother is well and alive. And they say something very shocking. That was actually shocking to me. They say we were ready to live our life knowing that you were going to die. And you're sitting across from them and you don't have much of a reaction. But how insane is it to hear your mom that you love so much and your sister say something so hurtful?
Tick, you want to make she wants to make me cry. It's
No.
like it's not. It's first of all, again, God, I'm lucky, and B, I had that moment of clarity. I had. I'm going to tell you, I was in treatment, and this guy at the treatment center still works there. He's a fucking savage, and excuse me, he never went at me straight. First time I'm in groups, like, this guy's attacking people. And he says to me, Bob, you're a pretty cool guy, eh? I am a cool guy. Really? Yeah, you're cool, eh? Yeah, you look pretty cool, eh? Got your shit together. All the guys seem to like you here. Even the girls like you. It's pretty cool. I said, yeah. He says, what about your mom? I said, yeah, my mom loves me. He says, yeah. He said, I could probably go over to your house and beat the living shit out of your mom. Beat her like a rented mule, grab her by the hair, bang her face in the guy. I said, what the fuck are you talking about my mom that way? Take it back. Don't fucking say that. He says, well, amazing. Only you can be her captor? Because he said, your mother wakes up in the middle of the night and hears sirens and goes, Bob. And I remember him thinking, and I sat my fucking ass down and swallowed that ginormous shit sandwich, because he was right. I had felt this big. I was no longer cool.
You're self-centered.
Yeah, self-centered. And like, I never thought, hey, maybe others are being affected by this. And really my mom, I was like, oh God. And I've intervened over 800 times in my life. And often I have, if it gets really down to a long intervention, I'm often like, can tell these guys, like, dude, do you want to do this to your parents? You're good with this? And they can usually have just that one moment. Yeah, I'm okay. Even if they fuck my parents, fuck this, fuck that, they can usually have, there's a little crack that happens and you'll see it because they are the people that brought you in here. And even with the worst backstory, you have a family that loves you. And they're, I hate saying unconditional. No, my family is a conditional love affair with me. They don't. They have a story where they tell
limits.
me limits, yes. But we don't have, like, I think of all of the people that I'm able to change, and I can't get anyone sober, guys. I can help you.
Well, you said something that was pretty spectacular. You said, God didn't do it for me. I did.
Yeah, that makes me very popular at Alcoholics Anonymous meetings.
That's where I was going to go because
Let's go.
let's dive right in because there's the mentality that comes with the 12 Steps program and the anonymous fraternities. And then there's what you do, which is putting yourself out there and being loud and vocal about what it is to be an addict and how you can potentially help them to...
I call it the God bomb.
The
The God bomb.
God bomb.
Because, and by the way, if God got you sober and that's working for you, fantastic.
Yeah.
But what's your relation with spirituality? And
I do good things and I feel good things. So when I do good, I feel like I'm helping myself. My brother is a member of the parish where my home group is. And the parish priest always says, your brother does some good work downstairs. And my brother John says, you're never going to see him upstairs. It's not going to happen. But in reality, God was good, orderly direction. And I took that to heart. Because I didn't have a man in the clouds. And whatever it is, it could be nature, it could be whatever it is. It's not a sticking point. But when you say what I said, there's a lot of people that, I have a lot of people that I'm in my own path. Like my recovery is my recovery. My business is my business. But in my recovery, I have a lot of men that has not resonated with them. They came in on their knees. They don't want to get back on them. That doesn't make them any less a member. And God is going, do I believe a higher being has helped me through this? Sure, why not? But do I think it was the be all and end all? You guys are all in long-term recovery here. Did it happen without work? It's work.
no,
And
you
the
got to
more
put
you-
in the elbow grease.
The more you put in, the better you get at it. Like shit that used to baffle us will be easy. Well, that's a direct result of how much you work at it.
So let's get to this.
Yeah.
AA principles. Let's say when they talk about principles over personality.
Yeah.
I get criticized sometimes because of what we do. And not everybody loves the fact that we talk so openly about recovery. Why is it so important for you to speak about recovery loudly?
Well, first of all, if you ever we're in Quebec, you ever have someone that you want to help that's in serious need. I coached a lady this morning. I got a call from a woman I've helped. She's been sober for a few years, and I helped her. She was helping another woman. She said she's on opiates, benzos, everything. I said, you're going to tell her to go to the hospital? I told her this. They're going to ask you 3 questions. Are you hearing voices? Say yes. Do you want to hurt yourself? Say yes. You want to hurt others? Say yes. In reality, by law, you say those 3 things, they have to keep you, all right? We're triaging people. The St. Luke Medical Center is fantastic. It's avant-garde, cutting edge, but the numbers are too big. By being open about our recovery, there's millions of people sober in Canada. Not all of them came through the rooms, but they're in long-term abstinence. If everyone said, my name is, and I am a person in long-term recovery, we're going to see some resources. I don't like to leave anyone on the side of the road. I'm able to help people, and I tell people all the time, like, hey, this is a problem. Like, mental health and addiction are one and the same. Bell Let's Talk. They had to squeeze that out because I think Bell's causing more mental illness than they're giving. But you ask anyone who works there. Whoops. Ask Lisa LaFlamme. That went well. But the what I'm trying to say is, like, the more open I am, if I can lend my face to the recovery, and it makes it, hey, you know what? Do you think, look at this young icon next to me here. How many people you think said, holy shit, man, she's really doing this? And that's going to change the way we look at this problem.
Plant the seed.
Yeah, it is exactly that. But I think it's more than that.
And I think that as a society, we often see addicts and people with drug and drinking problems as losers. People that are in the streets or people that have mental health issues. And when you see someone like you that have a lot of success, it changes the face of the disease. And then you can relate, and then you can identify, and then you can say, I think I have a problem too. And I think that this is why it is so important that some people like you do what you do.
Well, everybody, I think in the fellowships or in the world of recovery,
Yeah.
the more different faces we have, the more different speeches we hear, the more
Completely.
people
We can
are
reach.
going to be able to relate to what's happening with them.
Yeah.
Because we all have the same problem before we came in the rooms. We're not the same as anybody else we've ever met. And that keeps us isolated. And once you're isolated, nobody can understand you. Nobody can relate to what's happening to you. Well, you're not going to open the door and go see them,
You said something earlier. You said there's a difference between my recovery and my business.
Yeah.
What is it?
Well, here's what, again, ask anyone that knows me who has ever asked me for help. My phone rings. I'm a professional interventionist. I am licensed. Not many are. In this country, not many at all. I teach it now. I show other men how to do what I do. I just did a training in Las Vegas, and every guy in that room had some form of paper that they had trained at, yet they came to my training. And I threw down pretty good. Let me tell you, it knocked the hell out of me. It was 8 hours of me talking, and well, I'm doing a pretty good job now, but it really meant I was exhausted afterwards. There are different ways to skin that cat. But my recovery, I've had the same sponsor since I came in here. Not a genteel man, yeah. And I remember asking him, like, can you think you could be my sponsor? And he was like, yeah, okay, you're not asking me to dance, buddy. Let's just go. And
You also said something. I was with you outside right before you came in. And at 6 months, he asked his sponsor, can I get a coin, you think? And he was like,
fuck off, I give years. And he came because my mom was there, and he came, and I took 6 months. I had no pride. Your self-esteem, I had real pride that I'd worked for something here. 6 months was a big fucking deal. And I remember thinking, and then when I took my year, I was like, am I sober yet? He says, you've never drawn a sober breath in your life. And I'm like, why are you telling me
Here's the
that?
difference between abstinence and sobriety.
And I think it's important to tell people that. When are you going to know that? When situations that used to baffle us no longer do. And you're driving home, you're still having the argument and the barking is still going on in your head, but you didn't get out of the car and pull the windshield wiper off and beat the fucking guy's car with it.
Shit, this happened to me yesterday.
Exactly. Keep coming back. All right.
So sorry about your windshield, lady.
Yeah. But that's what I mean. And it's different. And it has to be. I have some reservations about so many people out there that are not qualified. You should have some training to do what you do.
So this is what I'd like to know. Because you have a sponsor.
Yeah.
So what's the difference if I ask Bob Maripier to be my sponsor or to be my sober coach? Can you explain to me the difference between the two?
The sponsor didn't move into my house and take me through my day and create and articulate a treatment plan for me.
So you're really hands-on, like you actually take
Well,
these
like
people
first of all, we used to send people to rehab. Like when I do, let's say I call me, drink here, I'll get a call I'll take an intake call. I've been doing it long enough that I will ask questions, bang, bang, bang. There's always a lead in an intervention. And then I'll get to know them. And then I want to meet the family.
Some
Zoom has
kind of
made
an
it incredibly
evaluation
easy.
of the
Yeah, and we
situation.
evaluate. You're getting a pretty good picture of what we're doing. The identified patient is the person that we're trying to get into treatment. And and now the family gets help. We used to think, let's just send them there. But
Oh.
we're coming back to the same. And in the last 5 years, family treatment has become really important because we're going to take this person out of the spoiled land where they can't grow, take them into rehab. 99% of people do fantastic in rehab. They like following rules. They like the day. They like not having their phone, believe it or not. They just like having that. What happens afterwards? So here's a treatment plan, post-acute care, and how are we going to articulate it? That should look like an intensive outpatient clinic. There's one in Montreal that I know of in English. There's Nouveau Départ has one as
Yes.
well afterward, you know.
Sort of Oxford kind of.
No,
No,
not
that's-
Oxford at all. There's a clinician that is chairing that meeting, and it's not AA is not group therapy.
Yeah.
AA is a fellowship. And if you ever go in there, because I've heard Dr. AA before, I've heard some old timers say, "Oh, you're an antidepressant, you shouldn't be on those." Like, you didn't go to med school, buddy. You shouldn't be telling anyone what their medicines they shouldn't be on. You hear it all the time. And he's on meds. Yeah, okay. Someone has a major depressive disorder. I'm going to say maybe he should be dealing with that in a psychiatrist, not
Or
someone
the
because
doctor should be the one.
Yeah. And I mean, there's also a fine line between it. So for me, when you ask me how am I coaching people, I'm coaching people with very serious lives that have many interesting dilemmas that we have to navigate through, all while remaining abstinent. If someone calls me and says, "I'm only going to use every 6 days," is that okay? No, that's not okay. I do abstinence only. Harm reduction in my job is a deadly thing to do. And I've never seen someone navigate it. "Oh, it's okay. I'm only get to it." And that's how people die. And I won't do any job. The moment someone's not following what our mandate is, I'm pulling resources. I'm not doing this, you know?
If you don't believe in that process, why should you encourage it also?
Encourage, I don't understand the
Well,
question.
if you don't like harm reduction, if you don't believe that
Yeah,
it's...
I'm not encouraging it at all, you know? But I don't think of harm reduction, people are taking on methadone, or they're on methadone, or they're on Suboxone because they're coming off of opiates. That's great. I just don't think you should be on methadone for 7 years. I think they should be working, and that's, again, our system should be getting people to get healthy and get off of it. Maybe 1% of people will need to be on this the entire time. I think it would be a lot better. We just need more resources in more places like a Centre d'accueil. There's a group out of Boston called the Phoenix.org. You guys will all look it up. They're free gyms. They do Namaste Yoga as part of that, which is run by a lovely girl named Nicole Longo, who I know from Boston. You should see this. You want to be a member of this gym? 1 day abstinence. That's the membership fee. And you come in there and they have ancillary services. Oh, you want to talk to us? A lot of people can't afford mental health help, and it's not for your sponsor to navigate deep emotional traumas that happened to you as a child. It's for a psychologist. And they're really able to do that. And it's pretty shitty that a city the size of Montreal does not have such a place. I have some very fancy friends in Montreal of the highest thing, and they're going to help me put something together. And believe me, when I came here today, I was like, these sons of bitches don't even know I'm going to be pitching them, because we have to do something. And we have to have a drop-in center that we can all call our home, and we can do things. And they compete. There's like 100 of them in the States all over, and they're competing with each other in like these Olympics. And some of it's just a gag, but what's the opposite of addiction, guys? Connection. And if we're connected, like we're connected. I've met, we've gone for lunch, Jean-Marc and I, but I feel connected to you because we're in recovery.
Yeah.
I feel like we have this
common
bigger,
goal.
crazier family. I have a home in Miami Beach and South Beach. I live there. After the pandemic, I basically never came back to Quebec because COVID was over years before. That's a whole different story. But
There was no COVID in Florida.
No, it didn't exist.
It's true.
But I mean it. Like I have everywhere I go, I travel a lot and I make it to meetings. I like going to meetings. My meetings.
But you've created your own, right?
Well,
SOS
it's an
meetings.
AA meeting, but the AA purists come in there and go, "Oh boy, these guys aren't." But a guy told me last night, it's his second meeting, and he said, "I have so much more hope leaving here. It's fun in here. We laughed. I said, yeah. Because I go to a meeting now and I also think it's 2023. And if they're going to do how it works and read the steps and read a vision for you and read all this stuff, and you've got 25 minutes, or even the only place on earth I've ever seen a secretary's report is in Montreal. I've never seen one anywhere else.
Really?
We have the secretary's report that's going to tell me the grapevine. Hey, man, I got ADHD. You lost me at my name is. All right. That's where I lost. So I want to get to the meeting about recovery and about getting into it.
Let's jump to recovery. Let's talk about recovery.
Let's go right
get
now. Like last night's topic was, are you doing the work?
So it's more of a discussion.
It is. It's a discussion. And there was 35 people there last night. I channeled Johnny Carson from an old time back, and I'm like, bing, bing, I'm making go. And I know everyone. If I don't know your names.
For you.
Exactly. But you're getting people to engage. And like, I don't feel like, and I'm like, if you're overwhelmed, you don't need to share. But it's amazing they share. You know, he makes you share. People say, I don't make you share. I make you, especially if you hear laughter. It's amazing how they come down. The air is out of the balloon. You're like, hey, this isn't so bad in here. Because when I first went to AA, they had 25 minutes of preamble. And they had a speaker that they rushed through his story. I'm like, I could have listened to this guy all night. But they rushed it through. So maybe I work it a little differently. I like that. Oh, we're nothing without these traditions. We're nothing without... I'd like to think that if you had some laughter in the meeting, like I try and end it in an hour. We ran an hour and a half last night. We just did.
Just because you had fun.
We did. And like the meeting, I tell people, the meeting is like, if you come in, my sponsees, you show up at that meeting 15 minutes early, every time. I love the guy that comes in. Meeting's been on for 5 minutes, comes in, shares, and leaves. Like I usually stop the meeting and say, are you going to take a shit on the table while you're here too? Because you're treating us like that. Because you can't do that. And it's amazing when people are taught the right way to do things, how fast they can do them. But when you're not told and you let people run
I just think AA is really open and they don't want to tell you what to do and they sort of accept everybody and they don't want to. I think your way of doing it is more hands-on and.
No, but like if I'm not at
direct.
the group, if I'm not there,
probably.
guys, it's still an AA meeting. It's in the AA book. It's the SOS meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I don't, it's not my meeting. Some people think they call it showtime or whatever else, but there's other guys that chair it when I'm not there that are more than willing to do it their way. You know, you need a strong person in the chair. You need someone that can handle the room. You know, there's a guy that comes every week and he's crackers. I mean, absolutely. But he listens to direction. Okay, like last night he went on about Batman and everything, and everyone's just there. And of course, my brother's sharing last, and he's looking down the table, giving me like this look, get him off of there now. And I like, okay, Mike, I think you've had enough. I call it a day. Thank you. And they come back on, and my brother's like, oh, now I got to follow this gong show. But it's kind of fun. Like I go, my brother got sober during COVID, and his world famous intervention brother, his kids did it. We tried.
Kids.
9 years ago, he went into treatment, and it lasted. You know, he went home, and his wife said, no husband of mine's going to be a teetotaler. That broke my mom's heart. My mom was, oh, shit, maybe Peter's going to hear this. Oh, well, Pete, mom didn't like it. It was hard for us to see me really, guys, my life took off in recovery. It took off. The first couple of years were hard. It took 2 years for the obsession to leave me. I'm honest about that. I used to think, oh, you know, it would be good now. Oh, Christ, the drink would be good and the big fat fucking line would help. But it's no longer my answer. And you start feeling, I mean, you have some pride about your recovery. Unlike the false pride you had in your debauchery, you know, I work hard, I play hard. That was a lie. But, you know, having some pride in the recovery process. And I saw my friend I gave my friend a 10-year chip last night. I met him on a ski lift at Saint-Sever, and he was a broken man. And a few days later, he was at Centre Pelledo for 21 days. He got served his divorce papers and a restraining order while he was in there. And you know what he didn't do? He didn't drink. You know what he didn't do? He didn't blow it up. He followed the path.
He did the work.
Yeah. And that's to me, like at 10 years, and he was like, it's a big deal. And it's amazing. What's the one thing I control? Because really, people, places, and things I'm powerless over. I control my reaction. And how am I reacting? And some days, not so good. Because I'm not perfect. But most days, it's a way better outcome. And I love the fact that if I come to a recovery meeting and I don't like it, I'm still going to sit there, I'm going to be polite, and I'm going to follow what is there. I'm never going to do anything. I'm amazed at people, and this is one of the issues. Like they'll be, oh, it's really good to see you, and I'm still in the room, and they can't say it to my face. I fucking hate that guy. And this, and my sponsees are super protective of me. They're always like, oh, you mean the guy that drove in a snowstorm, 2 hours to help me? Yeah, he's a piece of shit. I hate that guy. The guy that made all these calls to get me into treatment for nothing. Yeah, I fucking hate that guy.
I kind of want to tell a story because I think it says a lot about the type of person you are. We barely know each other. We spoken a little bit on social media, and last year, a friend of mine called me because one of her best friend was not doing well at all, and she was away. She was in Florida, and she calls me. She's desperate. She's like, I was on the phone with her mom. They don't know what to do. Can you help us? The girl's in Florida. I'm like, I don't know what to do. I'm powerless, and I don't have the background like you to actually do something. And then I thought about you. So I wrote to you, and within minutes, you were on the case. You have spoken to the mom, and then you reached out to the girl, and you helped her. And that was like so quick. Action, reaction. You were there in a split second, and that blew me away, really. So
That's the job. It's an emergency service, so I always take that seriously.
But it is your job. But I think that you're emotionally connected to every person who needs help because you were that person. And this is the difference between someone who does it only for the money and someone who does it because he's passionate about
You
it.
can't punch out Friday at 5 o'clock and
No.
say my week's done. You can't do that.
No. And I think that, thank you for saying super kind things about me. Everyone that works for me says they know what it is with me. They'll always say, like, people don't get to see this part. And I'm like, oh, it's okay. You can't say, oh, I did this and this. Like, you just do it. I just get it done. I've had people call me, and I've made calls like, hey, first of all, interventionists do not get paid to place someone into treatment. That is human trafficking and very against the law. But people think, oh, you're getting paid to put them in there. No. Canada's landscape of treatment has gotten very muddled. 2 treatment companies, Edgewood and Homewood, own 95% of the beds in this country. They also have 5 to 10 lawyers on their staff. So if you're going on the internet and Googling stuff, the SEOs, which 4 or 5 years ago, Google's and Meta tried to change the way it was set because they were paying for buzzwords that would put them first on the list. They have call centers, and it's dangerous. They're predatory as far as I'm concerned. I don't know how many clients I have that people say, shit, we wished we had called you first. Or I've had clients and I've told them the direct way of taking care of their unicorn, because everyone has a unicorn, and they haven't followed that. And then when all else has failed, they call me up, and, action makes it happen. And they usually say, oh my God, wow, did we waste a lot of time and effort here? And it's not about, you don't have to have $1 kajillion to get better. It's very difficult in this country to get help if you don't have resources. It's almost impossible. There's giant waiting lists, like unbelievable. And the treatment centers, imagine you're a psychotherapist and you have 50 beds in your center. You have 50 cases. That's a lot. And you're trying to learn and move them along. Some are sicker than others, clearly. Some of them need doctoring and psychological help. Like, I think it was really kind of funny. Like, when I got sober in 2004, some people would be like, we chose this. Like, I went down to Home Depot and bought a hammer. I got addiction. Yeah, I bought it. It's pretty good.
Sounds like it's on special this week.
It does. It's on special, 2 for 1. They don't talk about a complicated biochemical problem that I was born with. It's driven by my family dynamic, the community, and my exposure. That's the American Medical Association in 1956 came out with that. I still hear people saying it's not a disease. And that we have to fight ignorance, but it's kind of crazy, and there's many ways.
But this is why we're doing this.
Yeah.
This is because we need to talk about it, and we need to educate people
100%.
about what it is of the disease of addiction and how we can help people.
And the shame part of it,
Oh, yeah.
man, how many people were ashamed? I can't believe this. I can't imagine what you felt earth. Full burn in on entry here. And you came back being in recovery and being fine with it, saying, here, I take my hat off to you. You're probably the bravest person I know.
I don't think I am, but I think that was my way of emerging. And that way I can now be proud of who I am. Because I think that if I would have not have been outspoken about it and honest, which honesty is a thing.
Yep.
I was really, really good at lying in my previous life. And now the honesty is what I want to build on. So doing this and being free to say, I was like that. I have the disease. And I can now live a better life. And it is possible to change.
Yeah.
And it is possible to see the light at the end of the tunnel. This was my way of learning how to live again.
And it create like we were all adults when we got sober, or when we got abstinent on our way to sobriety. But we all like, it was so easy being me and so complicated. I was trying to save my addiction life. Look, I could go back. It's so much fun. No, it's not. I've had that Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, whatever dilemma, drama. I've had it a million times. There's no more joy in Mudville.
The broken record.
Yes. Or Leonard Cohen said it very best. I love this Montreal poet for, I ache in the places I used to play. And you go there and everyone's talking loud. And you go, you know, you can be high around me. I think it's not so bad, but being drunk around me, I can't tolerate it anymore. Like, it's loud and it's singing. And I'm thinking to myself, I didn't know what but for the grace of God go. Oh yeah, I'm leading that brigade. That's me. I've got the hat with the fucking light on going, yes, and a big snow cone around my nose. How you doing? There was a Quebecois starlet years ago at Musique Plus. I was at some event and I have this giant thing here on my nose and I'm talking to her. She's just looking at me. Who's this fucking mental case? Hi, I'm Bob. My cat's name is Mittens. Crazy. But I think of it now, that's what made me get here.
Yeah.
That's our path.
Yeah, the path was the path. And then like I remember I was living in sober living. I go to Florida. So I got to that rehab, 42 days. They say to me, I love that my ADD just brought us right back here. They tell me they lose my passport. And on 4/20, so tomorrow, 19 years ago, I fly from Montreal to Miami. And I've got a sober living. And what do you think my brothers and sisters are saying to my mom? You idiot. You've let him off the hook again. And my mom said to me, you've run out of runway. You break this and I don't know what to tell you. She didn't say, I'll never love you, and nothing like that. She just said,
I don't know.
You know, and I remember thinking, I've got no more exits. And I went there. I think I told you the story, but I'm going to repeat it for them. First night I arrive at that sober living. Hey, Bob, how's it going? I'm from Montreal. And they introduced me to my housemates. And there's 16 men from all different walks of life. 2 guys have AIDS. Like, this is real foreign to me. And they said, we only have one question for you. What's that? How full of shit are you? And I'm like, and then I went, completely. And half the guys go, yes. And the other guy goes, I got that wrong. I got that very wrong. And I remember doing that. And then it was pretty, like, I wasn't formed as a human. And I was so scared of making a mistake. But I went to lots of meetings. They made me do Meals on Wheels. And in Miami and South Beach on 41st is like the most Jewish area. And I'm bringing meals to old people. Like, what kind of life is this? By 2 weeks into that job, I'm so filled with hope, love, and these people have nothing other than me showing up. Here's, Bob the monkey boy with my food, but I was happy. And I started having, like, I swear to God, I talked about that depression. First of all, I was actually taking medication that was now working because I wasn't drinking on my SSRIs, which I'm not on any now. I was on them then, and they actually started to work, so I wasn't depressed. And I was really happy. And went, especially this time of year, I was pedaling my bike and it had like when I would ride it. And it's a shit box, it's like a completely bad thing. And the rain draws over me and I'm like drenched and I flip-flop brakes, my Havaiana brakes. And this is all happening. And I'm like, the sun clears up and I can smell the fresh cut grass from the
Oh.
lawnmower. And I'm like, this fuck. I call my sponsor, you know, oh my God, Harley, I'm having a moment. Yeah, it's okay. It won't last.
That's true.
But he,
That too shall pass.
yes, but I had that moment. And I swear to God, I had been a child since I'd had that type of genuine, authentic connection to being happy. And it was like, I swear, if the deal was sealed, it was there. It was like, even if I get this by a little bit, it's better than what I'm living. And I knew that. And there was a lot of tough apologies. There was a lot of shit. Like I had to mend my life and put it back together. And like 2 of my amends, they didn't go well. You know, people were like, fuck you, and the horse you rode in on, whatever. And, you know, later on, the best apology is good behavior or changed behavior.
Yeah.
And you just do it. And then like, I can't wait for everyone to be like, I was so caught up with what everyone thought when I came in. Like I said, I was ashamed when I went to my first AA meeting. And today I feel blessed on the fact that I get to live the life I do. I'm pretty lucky. I get to help people for no other reason.
So
you know?
Bob, you're 59 years old
58.
today. 58, sorry.
No, not today. My,
Please.
Apologize.
I'm,
And
I'm-
you've done over 800 interventions. Can you run us through your daily, because it's pretty mind-blowing.
It's-
You were telling us you've been all over the world.
Yeah.
I'd
Well,
like
I
to
work
hear what is a
everywhere.
day.
It's interesting because my lovely ex-wife, who was so instrumental on getting me to this side. And I met her, I was 5 years, and then we got married, and we'd watch the TV show Intervention. And she's in marketing. She worked for Cassette. She was like a really good career, very smart. Remember the Bell Canada Beavers when Bell rebranded?
It's
She drew them.
Gaspard.
It was hers.
Oh boy.
She was young. She's very bright, very capable. But we'd be watching Intervention and she'd say, you're more dynamic than every one of these people. And you're more charismatic. And you need, and I was like, I graduated from high school. I got thrown out of many universities. I could never start and stop anything. And she said, that doesn't matter. And she saw fit to go get me this course. And I did this weekend course with Earl Hightower, who is the gold standard in my business. If you ever want to watch some great AA YouTube, Earl H, he's probably one of the best speakers I've ever heard. He knew something about his whole family died in the plane crash. He survived. So he's got a really great story, but he's also a brilliant interventionist. And I got to learn from him. And, you know, I never had passion towards doing anything. Not many people want to walk through the door of a stranger and throw down and be calm and run that. It's a big responsibility that I take seriously. What I'm amazed by is some of the men that I'm training now are students of the game that see it. Now, I went and did this training in LA, 3 days. And I've sharpened my pencil and I'm following it. And he tells me, you're going to make a fine interventionist. You'll be able to make a living from this. And I said, yeah, okay, Earl, you say that to all the girls. And his second in command, Zan Isley, who I'm very good friends with, Earl's retired. She said, I've been doing this for over 15 years. And he's never, ever said that to someone. So I took that and went,
Maybe there's something there.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, but you still come home, and I was like, okay, if I could make like $100,000 a year, I'd be as rich as an astronaut, you know? Like, it's insane thinking today. And I ended up coming home, and he said, go get your feet wet, like, learn how to do this. Now, this is not a 12-step call. You're going to meet the family, you're going to, or meet the people that are concerned. As I work for one of the biggest law firms in the world, White & Case, the biggest corporate law firm in the world. I'm their agency of, I'm their interventionist of record. I get lots of cases for these giant CEOs that need help.
So you fly in, let's say, in a boardroom.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then you do an intervention live.
Yep. The banks.
Can you run us through what
like
it looks
the
like?
major banks? A lot of our bankers are on coke. Sorry to tell you.
Investment banking?
Yep. All kinds of bankers are.
We didn't know.
And
We're
I work.
shocked.
Yeah, and I work like I'll come in and do that. Yes, you're surprised, but I'll come in and I'll get a call. Usually there's a lawyer calling me first, and then okay, who's the contact person? And then I go in and I start disseminating information on what's there. What are we dealing with? I had one client who had gone to, you know, he was gonna, like all of us, I'm gonna manage my recovery plan. I'm the sickest person in the equation. What could possibly go wrong? You know? And like he went to some weekend thing in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Oh God,
And
great.
you ended up in the hospital at 400. When you blow 400, you should be dead. He's blowing 406 and he's standing. I'm like,
He's driving.
No, he's not driving. He was standing up.
Oh,
Like he
good.
should be in a coma at that level of alcohol. And I got that call. I remember this was one of the first big cases I had gotten. And, you know, this all changed when I was working in Montreal. I should change it. Like I was working here locally. I did a case and I was successful right off the bat. Like people were going, I was finding a treatment center that fit best for this person at their economic range and getting people in. And I was doing them. And I was like, okay, let's stack them and rack them. Doing cases that I would consider, I get complicated cases now. Like you cannot be a beginner and go do the shit I do.
And do you always refer them to a treating center?
Always.
Always.
You can't
So
do
you're
your job
kind
and
of
say,
the bridge
yeah.
between the first contact, let's say,
Yeah.
and then as when they get to the center.
Yes.
And do you stay in contact afterwards?
100%, because that'll go, we do case management. So when I do it, when I first did it, it was like, hey, I'm going to charge $1,500 for an intervention. And I will do the intervention and drop them off at the treatment center. And that'll be under my responsibility. They could leave treatment 3 days later. I've done my job.
Yeah, it's not over your
Then we
head.
started, the business really changed in the last 7, 8 years where case management became a thing. So you charge a lot more. I won't, like, I charge $15,000 to do an intervention. And that is going to give you a month of case management. I get cases. I did one in Toronto last week. 3 people had failed. First thing I told the people that hired me is, please call the 3 guys that failed after I land this. And they're like, who's this guy that thinks this way? Everyone always says, I could give you references of this guy walked in and said, like, didn't even blink. No, he's going to treatment. I don't give a shit who he is. Like, your unicorn's no different than any other unicorn. I really believe that. And if you train that family or those people properly, and they do not give in to a crazy man's demands, if you force them out, and that is to release
But
with love.
what are the success rate if you're like actually forcing someone into treatment? You've seen like great results with these people.
People do well, like when people say, first of all, any place that says a success rate and a percentage, run from them. There's no way of keeping those numbers, and it's disgusting that they think they can. But I work with people that not only get sober, they stay sober. That's the job. And very few of them, like if you're getting me here and I can sort of I can make it go. I'm going to show you pictures when we get off of here. I've got a treatment center I was at in LA. I've got 9 Canadians in there, you know, and one place, and it's a sober living for men. And it's a 6-month minimum stay. It's not an acute care center, but it's a sober living. Man, do they get busy there. But you give me a kid that's been to 5 rehabs and has failed everywhere, I'm going to show you accountability. I'm going to show you they're going to show you, they're going to do it. There's a wonderful guy that runs it, Chris Howard. Again, I'll share you his TikTok. The guy's phenomenal. And it's funny because I collaborate with all these other guys. I sent someone to treatment the other day, and I got a call. I'd done the intervention 2 years ago during the first year of COVID. And he took his ball and he went home. I can leave treatment after 3 weeks, I'm fine. Well, now he's half dead, and the family calls me, and now he's ready to follow whatever we have to say. We have a motivated buyer now, like he wants to do this. So the job sort of changed, and certainly didn't charge them again. I just said, okay, let's get on the phone, let's do this. And again, I'll show you on my phone, because she said, I don't know where we'd be without you here, because you just were able to point the arrow and get it in direction. Most people are fumbling around at what to do. It's the worst time for a family. The disease makes you sick, it makes everyone around you sick.
But I feel like your relationship with your mom, who was your enabler, made you understand even more the importance of the family and taking care of them, not only the person who's using.
Right.
Am
And
I
I can
right?
use, exactly. And like it's so important that there's a family of origin that we look at. Let's say that I'm the sick person. My radiation of my addiction went into everyone in my house.
Yeah.
Every one of
I
us got
relate
sick.
to that.
We
I
say
remember
35
when
people
yeah,
who
that's
are-
usually the
Yeah.
average that they say. But, you know, I was saying before, the fact that we each come from a different background, that we have a different story, we have a different family of origin, as you called it, we need to hear stories like that. Like the mother, the parents usually either they tell us like fuck off, we don't want to see
I'm
you
not the one with the
anymore.
problem, I hear often. Says the
Yeah.
guy
Stuff
with
like
the
that.
three-fingered scotch.
Yeah.
I'm not the one with the problem. Fix my... And that's like the
That's
narcissistic,
it.
covert
Yeah.
narcissist father, and his kid hates him because he wants to be him, and they're just waiting for dad to die. Give me your motherfucking money. That's what they want. So we have these failure to launch. I did 3 29-year-old men within a kilometer of, maybe 3 kilometers of themselves from Westmount, Outremont, and 3 29-year-olds. What do they all have in common? All lived at home? Check. Neither paid their phone bill. Check. There was no accountability, and they held their family hostage. I'm going to kill myself. And I'm like, okay, promises, on
Been
with
there,
it.
done that, got the
exactly.
t-shirt.
Exactly. But we're doing that. And like a continuum of care today, I got trained as an interventionist. I went to school to learn how, like I really started taking notes, like the subtleties. I wish you could come and watch me work because you're going to like, holy shit. I know I trained men are like unbelievable. The room is moving. It's alive. There's vibes and the person's like, fuck no, I'm not going. And we go around and everyone's done a letter. It's a Vernon Johnson was the man that invented modern intervention. There are many people that do love first and the Arise method that are given about a series of family meetings. Mine is
The hard-
surprise.
yeah.
We're coming in and we're doing this. So how could you invade my property? Stop. Like, dude, you're near death. It's usually post or pre-jackpot, meaning maybe they just got arrested for DUI or possession, or it's they're about to, and they're nodding off at the dinner table because they're on hard drugs. It's when I'm being called. And you have to be respectful to the fact that this family is redlining. They're in the worst place they've ever been. They need to feel that they've got someone that the controls that's going to be able to lead them, that's going to be damn sure of what he's saying, and that's going to be able to navigate this. You hire a guy that does like, my friends often say like, I'm pretty damn sure I'm doing this job right. And you didn't hire me to kind of maybe. I don't think in maybes, There's a hard way. I enter the room and I'm in it, and I'm not the star. This is an event, an intervention. I'm not the star. You guys are the star. I'm going to manage that room, but there's going to be a crack. As soon as the negotiation starts, I might go next Thursday, but I'm in the middle of it.
Oh, God.
I know we're on.
Oh, God.
I know we're on. I'm not negotiating. I know there's a bag packed when I'm going. There's a plane ticket. We're
That's
ready to
what
go.
I was gonna say.
Yeah.
It's funny because I had someone call me from a friend when I was a kid, and they know what I do, and they called me up for their sister, and they say we're planning an intervention. I said, okay, what are you planning? Well, we're gonna tell her
At
shit
dinner,
and
after a few
something
bottles
like
of wine.
that,
Great time to
probably.
talk to them.
And I said, okay, and once the intervention is done, what's
What's
in
next?
place?
Yeah.
He says, well, we're going to call a treatment. No. I said, if you do an intervention.
And we don't have beds. Beds are hard to come by now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I say, if you do an
You
intervention,
need a spot.
Yeah.
as soon as you find that crack,
Yeah.
the person goes now.
Yeah.
It's
Not
not,
in 3
tomorrow.
days.
Oh,
no, it's not
Like if I
tomorrow.
have to, and
It's
I'm
now.
using treatments. There's a treatment center in South Carolina called the Oaks. It's $4,500 for 4 months.
So that's dirt cheap.
It's nothing. Here's the Alcoholics Anonymous big book. You can eat it or bend over. We'll ram it clean into your ass. All right. But the reality is you go down there and you see the love and the thing, and that is what they call peer-driven recovery, and they do good work. Some people with a more complicated mental illness or stuff like that will need a higher level
Something
of treatment.
different. Yeah.
But I can tell you right now that most people just need to feel the community and feel it, and they start having momentum. You feel so shitty about yourself when your whole day is rinse, wash, repeat of what you think at one time was fun, but it's not been fun for a long time.
Exactly.
And I think that that's important to remember.
What would you say to someone that wants to get clean today? That one, let's say if it was that one sentence or word that you could tell that person.
There's no, I wish I could tell you there is one word.
There's no
But
magical.
are you sick and tired of
Tourette.
being sick and tired? Okay, great. But usually it's, I tell people regular, like, you want to do this to your family? Take a look at this. Take a look at the love and concern. They're yelling, mother. If I'm not calling a motherfucker or a cocksucker when I walk in the room, it's pretty instantaneous. And I'm going to hold my ground, and that's fine. And they're screaming at me. Do you know how fast you can get someone that's screaming at you to stop? You can continue to yell at me and scream at me, and I'm going to speak to you at this level. Immediately. I've never done it where they haven't stopped screaming. Just take a second here. This is what love and concern is. These people have lives. They've all taken off of their lives. They've come together to help you today. I don't want to fucking, I don't need fucking help. You going to hear us out? Yeah. Sit down. Sit them down. I always tell them, I'm going to point, I said, just follow my lead. Bang, bang, bang. And I always know already the letters are done. Some are more impactful. What's interesting is some of the more impactful letters won't have the most weight with the identified patient. There's a fucking dark horse often. They're like, how the hell did Uncle Louis have that much on him?
Yeah.
You know, like he just hammers him. One of the letters cracks them wide open. Usually when they go in them, okay, I'll go. And then if they
What's
say
the
I'll
process? Like you read the letter to the...
the person, we sit down and we're like, hey, you know, and they're breaking down. It's super high emotion. You can feel this emotion unless you're made of stone. Even if you're, and it's always in the morning. The intervention at night, we intervened on him at 7 p.m. after 3 bottles of wine. It didn't go well. It turned into a fist fight. We had to call 911.
So you do it first thing in the morning?
Of course.
It must be kind of draining for you, Bob, no?
It is. I used to think it didn't bother me. I was impervious to it. And Earl, who was my, Earl Hightower was lovely to me, said, Bob, you have only so much soul. And I feel, you know, like the J cloth with all the little holes in it. I feel like I'm giving pieces of that every time I help someone. And sometimes you feel like you have nothing left. I have my office that tells you like, Jesus Christ, Bob, you got to take your foot off the gas. And like it's after Christmas is always the worst time. Get rid of my fucking problem. Like they go through the holidays and that's always the busiest time. By the first week in January, that phone's never stopping. And you want to stack them, rack them, and get them going. And then you have relationships. I have long relationships with multiple treatment centers. Not many in Canada now. The one I was using just got bought out by a bigger one. They keep buying all these treatment centers. And I don't want to send someone if it doesn't work. If I'm sending someone and after 3 days it's not a fit, you're not getting charged 50% administration fee. I have a kid that was at Bellwood, which is owned by Edgewood. He was there 16 days, $60,000, not refunding.
Not refunded?
Well, I didn't send them there. So if I was, I could call them and say, you want me to go on my social media and start talking about you? Yeah. They took me out for dinner one night at Joe Beef, and the CEO's a woman. This is the boss move. I ordered everything on the menu.
You told me the story.
I took like one bite. She goes, you never sent me a client. I said, nope, not a chance. And I ate everything because they were buying Nouveau Départ. And I was like, no, not happening.
They were buying
I sent a client to Nouveau Départ to detox. And there was a treatment center called Chatsworth, which is closed now. Probably the best I knew in Montreal. 21-day program, but incredibly powerful because everyone arrived on the same day. You did your 12 steps and the program was the same. What happens at every other treatment center is it's a turntable, all right? So you could be, it's never going to be cohesive, leaving, coming, and there's no therapeutic alliance. The person you like the most is leaving, and you've only been there a week, and you fucking miss them the moment. That tears apart some of the treatment stuff. And also, if you're building on that therapeutic alliance, it makes complete sense that each day would synergize into the next day. We're doing our steps, and we're learning it all in there. You could do, that was the university course, and then send them to a sober living for 3 months to learn how to live this way, and you're cooking with gasoline. It's fantastic. That's hard to do. 6 weeks of treatment or 28 days of treatment. Every one of my long treatment plans would have to do with getting in there and getting into a long-term place and having a case manager that's like following up on what's going on. So are you getting your services? What's happening? And they're telling me, I had a hard day today. And then we're communicating with the family and the family's getting their therapy. So it's starting to build something here. There's momentum and everyone has a role to play in it. But when I do those interventions and I think of myself all the time on where did I, like if I can help this young person get in, or old people, like the biggest segment, believe it or not, are retiring people, men, who have been myopically focused on, I got married, I had kids, I provided. My kids are old now, I'm getting my foot, I'm in a loveless marriage. I really don't like this. I go to the club, I play golf. During COVID, man, that shit came home to roost. And good old alcoholics showed up in fuck you quantities because everyone was drinking all day. It was the only thing we could do. The price of cocaine went up to $60,000 a kilo. Don't ask how I know, I just know. It went up, like the price went up and it was driving, but it was a very, we can mitigate how much time we were spending at home. We go to the club, we go shopping, we go out with the girls, we go for dinner.
Go to work.
They were doing, and they were all held up together. The phone started ringing and like, hey man, this problem is bad. So I get these men, a lot of them have been really successful. More people got retired in the last 3 years than any time in the world. Globally, we retired all these people. They've done no work. Oh, psychology is a fool's business. I'm impervious to that. Okay, buddy, like
That's
your
a
dad.
really hard demographic to break in.
But they're the guys that if they do get treatment and they can just start listening. It's important, for me, because I don't know about you, but I thought I fucking knew it all when I got sober. And it was a quote from...
You were not like that,
no,
Angelo, right?
There was Angelo. It's what you learn after you know it all that counts.
She's already unicorn.
It's what you learn
Bob,
after you know it all that counts. It's the truth.
When you came in the office before, you had your 2 phones and your company's called Hired
Sobriety.
Sobriety.
Yeah.
Recovery is a lucrative business.
It is. It's a much bigger business than I ever thought it would turn into. It works out of the United States. I'm actually no longer, I'm a Canadian. No, I am Canadian citizen, but I no longer, it works out of there. It's a bigger business because I have a much bigger net than I ever had. And we didn't really speak about Rob Ford. I have a lot of famous clients and I can't say their name here.
Right.
Rob Ford was very open. It was like in the mayor of Toronto, and he was a fucking train wreck. And he deserved a better outcome. No man deserves to die of cancer at 46. That put me on an international stage, a very high one, very quickly. People say to me, well, you were lucky to get Rob Ford.
So how did you get Rob Ford? Sorry.
Well, they were interviewing people. The rehab that had him there was advertising that they had him there. It was insane.
Oh, God.
Everyone knew where he was because they were saying it.
Just the way they treated him.
Oh, that was terrible. It was terrible.
It was
terrible.
awful.
And he came out of treatment. And, or let me give you the story. I get called, and it's a multi-step process. And they interviewed a lot of people. And I didn't know until I met him whether or not I was doing it. It was June 18th, 2014.
This guy has such a memory.
Well, I'm good with numbers. Like I can't read a book, but Jesus, I can remember numbers.
$15,000 for intervention. I remember that number.
Oh yeah, but you look at the way it works now. I remember that day. It's my wedding anniversary, and I drove to fucking Muskoka. By the way, anyone in Toronto, first of all, anyone that has a cottage in Muskoka, you need your head examined. It makes like getting to Middle Earth would be easier than getting there on a weekend. It's insane. And I'm driving there.
But it's
a
so
Friday.
pretty.
It is pretty, but there's like the road's
Just so
insane.
people know, it's like the Hamptons of Toronto.
Yeah.
Let's say, the Hamptons. It's not that. It's a way off the mark, but it's
more
a
like
good,
Jersey
drive. Yeah, and it's a long drive, and it's a little couple, 3 big lakes. I drive up there, and there were other interventionists and sobriety coaches there. This goes to who sits before you, because I went, can't believe you guys are here to waste your time. I'm getting this fucking job. One of the guys who was in there always said to me, I won't say his name because he gets embarrassed. He's a very well-known guy. He's on the TV show. And he said to me, I'm wondering what kind of savage comes in here and tells people way more educated than him that they're not getting a job. I just knew it. And when I went in there, he was in rough shape. He was in treatment and he was in rough shape. And I said, what the fuck is going on? There were 7 people there. They had interviewed, I'm friends with the girl in the office. She said like 100 people were called. So when I went there and I gave it to him, my guy just said, you think it's fucking hard now? When you leave here and you're a mess, we're leaving in 12 days. This is not going to work. You think people are laughing at you now? Dude, you have no idea. I remember like, buddy, come on, buddy, take it easy. I was furious. I said, this is fucking disgrace. The therapist can't look at me in the eyes because he realizes what's going on here. He's basically doing his own thing back in the back of the place. It's an old motel. And they've cleaned up their act, believe me, since that. I gave it to a guy, said, this is fucking, what a waste of time. It's my wedding anniversary. I could be doing something fun. But we spend an hour together and we go for a walk and we talk. And, he says, you're the only person that didn't ask me where I come from. You're the only person that didn't. They all tried to inside joke. Oh, tell me about your family of origin. That shit you talk about, that intimate detail in my job, that comes later. It comes now as like, can I work with you? And he had a problem with trust. He had all kinds of stuff. But I want you to think of me on the 30th of June. My wife says, like, you got to go. You got to get in your car. You got to go. You got to go to Toronto. I was like, yeah, I don't really want to go. She's like, dude. And I said, I kept thinking, I could be the footnote in history of the guy that went to help him, and he fucking relapses the day of, and he was bombastic. He was the most Googled politician, most Googled human in 2014. And I'm like, man, what have I done here? And I go up there. She was like kicking me out the door. Fern was like, get the hell out of here and go do. And she joked. She said, you gave him 2 barrels of Bob, didn't you? Because that's what she always says. When I'm really going, I'm like, okay, I'm not, the gloves are off. I'm not going to miss anything. So she said, you go give him 2 barrels, Bob. I said, okay. Went down there. I wake up in the morning. I'm at the Sheraton right across from the city. He's still at treatment. It's July 1st. They knock on the door. Sorry to knock on the table. I was warned not to. Sorry, people. The producer hates me. I knock on the door, and they take me. The police state chief comes in. Rob doesn't know. And they're asking me what I'm from, this and that. I was like, first of all, I work in anonymity. Second of all, I'm trying to work with them. He found out that the police chief hated him. And I got brought up, and we went and got him. And it was like OJ's car chase, guys. Like, everyone was following. CP24 followed him 24 hours a day. And he gets out of treatment. There were Mickeys in his mailbox. People are mailing crack to him. And we're going out in public, and they're saying, resign, you fat fuck, you're a disgrace. And no person coming out of recovery deserves that. He'd go to meetings, try to go to meetings, and all of a sudden, there's 50, 60, 80 people like, Ford's here. So the phone, it would fill up. And he was like, I felt so self-conscious that he was taking away from other people's path and their recovery. So I can't feel. So we got some meetings. There's high-level businessmen and stuff. There's some really secret meetings in Toronto. Of course, we knew how to get to them.
Thank
I knew how
God.
to get there.
Thank God.
Yeah. And he deserved a better outcome. But it was a hard time. It was really hard for me. People were shitty to him. And we started doing. Yeah, well, I'll tell you that. We're doing. I go into 1010 News. Nobody knows who I am. Everyone knows there's someone new there because he's got 50 people following him every second of his life, and I'm not answering questions. Nobody knows. We go to 1010 News. My brother's been in radio for 43 years. The news guy, Mike Ben Dixon. Hi, Mike. And John Moore. They're like, it's fucking Bobby Maripier. Uh-oh. I said, guys, I had to work in that. Within minutes, I've blown up Twitter. My poor mother's getting phone calls. I said, Mom, leave the phone off the hook. And she said, okay, I will, because they're trying to call and find any background on me, backstory. I've washed myself off social media at this point. I think I give myself a fake, or I just changed my name and stuff. But then we're going out to public, and I got to defend my guy, because I just like, leave him alone, man. He's got kids and a family. Leave him be. And we're at that thing. And these are professional protesters. They're not regular protesters. And they were yelling, resign, this and that, screaming at him. I never kicked him. I never touched him. But the police didn't like him. So the police said I kicked them. I never touched them. Like, anyone that knows me knows if I was going to hit you, I would have hit you.
Yeah.
I would have known. You would have known. But it was, and I was like, I guess I'm fired. I'm done. And I'll never forget, he was so generous, this man, to me, in kindness. He said, did anyone die? I said, no. He said, you're going to be in the news. They're going to gin this up. And those were his words. You're going to be all over it. He goes, tomorrow morning, go to the newspaper stand, because you're going to be on the front page of every fucking paper in this country. I was on USA Today's front page. Like, it was insane. And I woke up and I was like, oh, God. And he said, you were going to stick with me. Politicians have a very tough job. It's 1 vote per person. He really cared about people. I can't say that about his brother. We do not have a good relationship, but I did with Rob. And I always think of, like, he was a young man and he got a terrible cancer. And he said, man, people were just ready to watch me die in my addiction. I got cancer and everyone left me be. Because it was interesting, because he really saw the dichotomy between cancer, you poor bastard, and addiction, you fucking asshole.
Right.
And it is insane. And we got to change that.
So representative of how people
Treat us.
view the situation.
It's better now, guys.
Yeah.
It's way well. You
Is
think
it?
sober? Look,
Is it?
In 2004, when I go to meetings, alcoholic addict, Bobby, shut up, junkie. Don't open your fucking mouth here. Like that's in a meeting where we're supposed to, newcomer is the most important person. That wasn't my experience. And I remember when I went to Miami, where they're way more evolved, man, I got strength from these guys. You're not going to be ashamed of being that. By the way, tell them that alcohol's a drug. Fucking arseholes. The FDA doesn't have alcohol nor that. It's under drug. And it
Take
was
notes,
different.
AA.
No, but it wasn't that. And it doesn't mean it like it's a bad thing. It's just
No.
like I said, if The Cat in the Hat is a book that gives you some sort of serenity into your recovery, who am I to tell my sponsee, you know what, drop that shit. It's the big book and that's it. Hey, the first 164 pages of the Alcoholics Anonymous big, kind of important that we read these, all right? Kind of important that we know what's going on. There is a solution. I found a solution in abstinence, and then I got sober, all right? But it didn't happen overnight. It didn't happen in 3 weeks. It happened by continually doing something that was completely diametrically opposed to my way of living, starting to care about my fellows, starting to have a life outside of a fucking bar, starting to have conversations that were deeper meaning. There was meat on the bone of my conversation as opposed to, very, face it, guys, I can't imagine all the fluff conversations you've had about nothing like they mattered. And I don't look back and say, I wouldn't have changed a thing. I love my recovery today, but I've watched the world change in 19 years for the better because you can go to a meeting now. There was my home group, there was a lady that had an overeater. There was nowhere for her to go. But
Right.
Now we do.
process addiction, which like we think of alcohol and drugs, sex, gambling, shopping, food. These are process addictions. Your brain delivers norepinephrine. This is made here. That discharge, when you're like, feed me, I'm having my whole brain, the synapses are firing because I'm thinking. I used to call the coke dealer and I'd have to take a shit. That's how powerful cocaine was. It was instantaneous.
Without even getting
It wasn't even there. But why I'm saying that is that the process addiction, the food, the sex, the gambling is an incredibly dangerous. And I don't know if any of you are watching, but guys, gambling is so degenerative now with those phones. I can bet on the next hockey player if he's going to an even number or an uneven number. I can bet that type. And we are
can bet
doing
if
this
he's
in our
gonna
hands.
win the
And
next,
people leave it. There was a guy in my meeting last night that told me he lost $50,000 since Christmas
Oh God.
on
and the
his phone.
consequences are terrible.
Yeah. And
Well,
it-
liquor, drugs, at one point you sort of cap out
Yeah.
gambling until you lose everything. You keep going.
And
There's no
the
limits.
same thing, we're now, the gaming thing, I'm getting calls for interventions on young men who wear diapers. And I've had,
Oh God.
they don't leave, they go to university, they never leave their room. They just game all day in the second life. And we are allowing, who's running the governance of all these new games? All the guys that got sort of let go when tobacco, they're the lobbyists in
Oh,
Washington
God.
handling this. I don't make this shit up. HBO did a special on it, and it's kind of interesting to see. So they're running, these games are highly addictive, and people are...
They're
we're
built
losing-
for that.
Yes, they're built to let you stay in it.
Yeah.
And then we're not building our social skills. My
This
sisters and brothers...
It feeds the circle.
Yeah, exactly. But
'Cause
it's the
as
same
soon
thing
as
we
you
all have.
Yeah.
I'm shopping still. It's a bit of a problem because I've got nobody's checking the bills, and I still can I'll go to my house and I've got 120 pairs of shoes. I only got 2 feet, and now that I have a place in Miami, I justify I needed
So you
Miami
can
and here, so I have 2 places. I like to get on the plane. I'm just gonna have my backpack with my computer in it, nothing else.
It's faster.
No, it just doesn't work that way.
No.
But again, those are the things that happen to you when you start to recover and you start saying, I gained 100 pounds my first year sober.
100 pounds.
I weighed 128 pounds when I went to rehab.
Jeez.
And I
Same
weighed
as me.
220 a year later because I became mange tout, anything I get, like an alley, I'll have that, I'll have that. That was it. And then I had a new problem because what do you think I was doing with my feelings?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was eating
Eat
them.
them away.
We can use this to close it, to bring people to shop for our coffee.
Oh,
Because
you mean the
that's
coffee?
why we're doing this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Well, the coffee was kind of good, I think.
It was, by the
so
way,
it
I
is
really kissed your
available.
ass because it was really good. It was really good. Look how there's none left, people. But I could stay here all night and talk to you guys. And the reality, again, is that if you're in recovery, be proud of what you've done, the accomplishment. It can be a relapsing disease. That wasn't my experience. And a lot of people I know haven't. A lot of people came in once and stayed in. I respect that. I treat this like I'm very vigilant on my
Serious.
recovery because it's serious business. I don't know if
It's
I
a
can come
deadly
back.
disease.
It's a
Oh, it's
life and death-
ridiculous. And
it's
we're
a life
having
and
it. We
death
had more
disease.
people die during COVID from alcoholism than COVID in the United States. Well, we were a bit better on the COVID numbers in Canada, but it's a pretty frightening thing. And the health minister of Ontario, when we were getting locked down, I remember being in Florida going, do I go home? Do I not? And then we got the Canadian government said, you need to come home. So I got on a plane. I'll never forget. I flew back from Fort Lauderdale. I was the only person on the plane. That's pretty creepy. And I didn't wear a mask. They were letting me live dangerously. But when I got home, I was like, I got COVID like March 31st. I've got COVID and I'm taking like a test and like nobody's coming to my house to feed me. I'm half dead. And they kept getting, oh, your test says you don't have it. I was sick. And then finally they took a blood test. Oh yeah, you have it. But it was like 12 days later and I was still sick. Yeah, it was not the times that we're living in the recovery world are way better now than they were when I came in. And I can't imagine in 10 years that they're going to be way better because people like us talking about there's no shame in this.
Well, let's keep on planting the seed of hope. And thanks for being here, Bob. Is there anything you want to say before we go?
Well, I've pretty well said everything I needed to say, I think. But no, other than like I really appreciate being your first English guest. But more than anything, I respect the hell out of this. And like we're starting somewhere. Everything's scalable. People are like, they're so busy. Oh, I don't want to do that. It might be a waste. Nothing's a waste of time when you're working in the right direction. Nothing. And I can't believe how people we want to have, like, we're going somewhere here. Allow yourself the chance to get better. Allow yourself to heal relationships and heal yourself and feel better. It took years to get rid of all this trauma I had in me. It took years to get rid of all these like concepts I had that were bad. Happy, joyous, and free took probably 14, 15 years to get to. But today it's a much easier task. But if you don't allow to start, like I was holding on to a life that was killing me, like I needed to defend it. And all I had to do was allow it to leave me. It was no longer serving me. And once I did that, everything started. So it's cool.
Wow.
I'm filled with hope.
All right.
That is so good. Thank you
Jean-Claude.
so much. Merci d'être venu.
Ben, ça fait mon affaire, huh? Did we do okay?
It
Do I have to
great.
go home now, or can we keep talking when we leave?
You can go home or you could stay.
We're going to shut the mics, but we're going to
I
stay
don't know if
here
you've,
and keep talking.
You can fly us to Miami.
Yeah, we can
We can
fly.
keep talking.
I do that.
So
good
guys,
with
please don't
Yes.
forget to like and subscribe. This is the first episode, Grain of Hope. Hopefully not the last.
The first of many.
The first of many, I hope. And that's it. It's a wrap.
It's okay.
Goodbye.